Welcome back to the Tierney Education YouTube page where I go over practice problems in introductory and intermediate economics classes, as well as give a little bit of advice on overall learning science and education in general. My name is James Tierney. You can reach me at james@tierneyeducation.com, and make sure you go visit tierneyeducation.com if you'd like to schedule a free 30-minute consultation on how I may be able to help you through private tutoring or coaching get through some of the toughest classes that you may be taking. Today, we are going over a loanable funds market question, and this is a market for supply and demand, and it's an algebraic type question where I give you some functions. I have a very similar question to this posted, which I will link in the description, and there will be a pop-up that you can go check that one out as well if you would like. But this was given to my students here fall of 2023 that I am an adjunct over at Susquehanna University. And I decided to make a video to kind of walk them through step by step how to do it and then post it to the YouTube page for everyone else around the globe who might need a little bit of help with this type of question. So let's go ahead and look at what we're asking. What function represents the demand and why? Well, we know that the demand is downward sloping. So it's downward sloping because we know there's an inverse relationship between, an inverse relationship between the interest rate and the quantity of loanable funds. So that's why our answer here is the second one. And again, it shows that inverse relationship. And if you need more information on why that's the case, there is a 3-part series that I created talking about the demand for loanable funds. Again, I'll make sure there's a pop-up for it and also in the description below. Next, but definitely not least, we need to make sure that we can graph these. I don't know why I said next, not least, instead of last but not least, because it's just next. We need to make sure we graph them. And we want to make sure that we have our XY intercepts labeling the curves and the axes. So we know this is the real interest rate versus the quantity of loanable funds. In economics, you always are looking at the price of whatever you're looking at. The price is on the Y or the vertical axis, and then the quantity is always on your horizontal axis, whether or not it's the independent or dependent variable, where really what we're doing is we're looking at the quantity of the thing we're looking for and then the price. And the real interest rate is the price of the quantity of loanable funds of any sort of loan. So let's go ahead and start with the demand curve. So we'll start with the demand curve. I'm going to change this up a little bit. Let's go with a purple color. So let's look at the demand curve right here. Well, we know the demand curve is going to start somewhere on the R axis, on that vertical axis, and that is when the quantity of loanable funds is equal to 0. So if I were to plug in a 0 for this quantity of loanable funds, I'd get R equals 100 minus 0, which is just equal to 100. So we know this number is going to be 100. The slope is -1, which is that kind of invisible 1 there in front of our variable QL, that coefficient. And so we know that this is going to be a 1-to-1 relationship, so we can pull this down as a demand curve. Here's my demand curve, demand for loanable funds. This point is going to be 100 as well. Make sure we're labeling those intercepts. We can do the same thing for the supply. So the supply, I'll put that one in brackets. Again, we want to put in R equals 10 plus 2 times 0. Those will go away, so we know that R is going to be 10. We know it's upward sloping, so we don't need to do anything else. There's my supply of loanable funds. And we know there's going to be an equilibrium question coming up in the bottom of part C. But that's all we really have to do. For part B, you don't need to do anything over here in the second quadrant. We don't care about the negative quantity of loanable funds. We're just not going to deal with that right now. There is the other video that I told you about, which again, I'll make sure I put a little pop-up, and I'll also make sure it is in the description below. That one has the quantity and the interest rates kind of flipped, so you have to do a little more algebra to find out what these intercepts are. So don't be fooled if it's not in your basic y equals mx plus b form, if it's in something else. So now let's go ahead and do the equilibrium real interest rate and quantity of loanable funds. I'll do that in red, just that way we can kind of show things a little differently. I'm going to pull it over here to the right where we have some more room, and this point right here is my equilibrium, and that's where those two things are equal. So I'm just going to take both of these equations. 10 plus 2QL equals 100 minus QL. And some of the most watched videos on this page are finding equilibrium, so you can go check those out as well if you're having any troubles. I'm going to get all the Q's on one side, so I'm going to add QL to both sides, which means I'm going to get 10 plus 3 QL equals 100. Subtract 10 from both sides. I'm going to get 3 QL equals 90. Divide both sides by 3. The quantity of loanable funds is going to equal 30 when I'm at equilibrium. So that's going to be 30. I then will just need to plug this 30 into either the demand or the supply. Let's do it for both of them. R equals 10 plus 2 times 30, which equals 10 plus 60, which equals 70. Or on the demand side, we had 100 minus 30, which equals 70. Notice these are the same. So my equilibrium interest rate is going to be 70. And you might say, James, 70, that's such a high percent. Yeah, you're right, it is. But this is just getting the skills of solving for equilibrium and getting that math literacy that you need in an introductory macroeconomics class so you can succeed in all of your intermediate level classes. So there you have it. A pretty quick explanation on how to solve when you're given a couple of equations for the loanable funds market. We went over, why the second equation was demand, and that's because of that inverse relationship. Able to graph, which again, I have other videos on this channel if you need more help, and then solving out for the equilibrium interest rate. If you need any additional help, again, make sure you reach out. My name is James Tierney. This is TierneyEducation.com. You can head on over to TierneyEducation.com on the homepage. Go ahead and click that button that says Initial Consultation. More than happy to talk to you about anything related to economics or education. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.